What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lamonts G Custom Live Show, the number 3 podcast. Uh, Virginia, Virginia, Virginia. Virginia, Virginia, Virginia. Listen, you gotta be living under a rock to not know what's going on in the state of Virginia. A lot of people are talking out on it, speaking out on it. And if I didn't have, some associates in Virginia, I probably wouldn't be speaking on it. But they are livid. They're upset. And not only the individuals who live in Virginia, but individuals who live in the DC area and Maryland. Now, I am embarrassed to say, well, not really embarrassed because, hell, I didn't know. I'm not from that area. But when they refer to the DMV, I'm thinking they talk about the driver's license place. I'm just being dead honest. I never knew until I got in a conversation with some associates that's from that area that it stands for, now, according to them, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, DMV. I'm 53, 54 years old, and I never knew that. But anyway, so you got some people that are highly upset on numerous fronts. Number one, they voted a socialist, left-wing lunatic in as governor. Number two, you have these foreign-born individuals in the state Congress that are proposing these outright non-constitutional bills and amendments. So some individual from Bangladesh or somewhere he looks like a Middle Easterner has proposed to ban guns and age restrictions and this and that. You got other people who are proposing bills to raise taxes to just incredible numbers. Virginia, what are you doing? For the past 6 months, man, we've been talking about New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, and rightfully so. But Virginia, Jesus Christ, man, what have you guys done? Because you have to realize, you have to understand this. Yes, it's very important when you vote for the right person of the presidency. That's the leader of the free world. It's the head of our country, but leader of the free world. When you vote on these local and state elections, that's your life, your everyday life. Oh my goodness, man, y'all gonna be paying taxes, but you know what? Y'all voted for this. It's hard for me to sit here and say, feel sorry. You guys voted for this garbage, man. I have an associate who lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. An associate who lives in Maryland. Well, a handful that lives in Maryland and a couple who lives in DC. Don't talk to these people often, just every now and then. Excuse me. But they are livid. And in a way, I kind of understand them. Hell, you almost feel hopeless. For the next 4 years, it's going to be almost like your life is turned upside down. Hey, you're living in reverse. So I totally understand. I understand that the Republican candidate, can't remember her name, black female from Jamaica, she ran a terrible campaign. Her and President Trump had, some disagreements or whatever. So she was not backed by the powerful of the conservatives. But dude, this is what y'all got, man. Now, another big deal in Washington D.C. right now is the SAVE Act. Listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am a realist. And if you don't know, if you don't understand that cheating in elections has been going on, especially for the last 10, 15 years, then you're living under a rock. And the Save Act could remedy a lot of that, I guess you could say. But when you get a state like Virginia who has went totally to the left, you put people in positions where you can, hide cheating. I think Georgia tried their best to do that, and these people are straight out evil, man. I remember watching back at the 2019-2020 election. I can't remember where the heck this was, but it was a black woman, and she had a big old box, and she was just feeding ballots and feeding ballots and feeding ballots, and no, and all of them was Joe Biden, but nobody could explain that. And I'm like, I think that happened in Georgia. It was about 2,000 ballots she fed into that machine, and nobody could explain that. So I saw this with my own eyes. It wasn't AI. So this person's probably gonna get away scot free. Probably change the trajectory of our country, at least for them 4 years she did, or she helped to anyway. And it's like there's no accountability, man. None. You got people in Virginia, and I'm talking about the politicians who are openly saying that they are communists, they're Marxists, and we finna have a Marxist regime. If I'm not mistaken, that woman, Spamberger, she ran on being right down the middle, being a moderate. Dude, when I tell you she's left a Mandami, that's saying a whole lot. These people who are not born, and I heard a guy say this yesterday. These people who are not born here but become naturalized citizens, do they need representation? Yes, they do. Do they need to be? Do they need to be representatives themselves? No, hell no, because they weren't brought up in this culture. They're trying to change the culture. He mentioned growing up on 4th of July and other holidays, you go out and you get your little fireworks, your sparklers, you cook hot dogs and hamburgers out on the grill. Family come over, you just have a good old time. That's black, white, green, and yellow. That's what we did on these holidays. Christmas, we go to church, we celebrate the birth of Christ. We have family time. We have Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. We have our Easter celebrations. Blah blah blah. But they don't understand this. They want to change all that. And like he said, over my dead body. But in places like Virginia, they are. They're changing it. And listen, it's just not Virginia. Virginia's just in a hot topic right now. They're just in the news right now with all the absurd things they're doing. But trust me, you still have California, you have Washington State, you have Oregon, you have Minnesota, you know, you have New York, you have Massachusetts. You still have these states and cities that, for the life of me, why would you want to kill where you live? Now, it'd be different if it was the elites, because if they plan on blowing up the world, which I think with COVID they did, kind of, sort of. But they can go in their little hiding places, their little bunkers, and probably live another 2 or 3 years. But they don't wipe the earth of all their emissions. That's what they want to do. But these people who got to live in these states and these cities, and they don't have that comfort, why? Why destroy your own city and state, man? Why? You plan on going to another country? You're going to kill the U.S., kill these cities and states over here. You're going to flee. Dude, when I say evil walks among us, evil walks among us. And the evil's not hiding anymore. It's wide open. It's out in the open. Yeah, y'all. I just learned what the heck the DMV was. So it's D.C., Virginia, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And you know, if you're not from these areas and you hear a lot in the news, you want to speak to somebody who is close, who's on the ground. And when I say these people are living, listen, a guy who I don't know, but I did, hear a I heard some conversations that he was in out of California, conservative individual. He said last week, if I'm not mistaken, that gas was over $8. And he said that's not unusual for parts of California. He said, but it don't have to be that way. When they, like in Alabama, I think gas right now is 3.50 probably. It's been as low as 2.29 in this calendar year. But we don't have the emissions tax, the gas tax, the fuel tax, this tax and that tax. If you take those California taxes away, their gas would be about $4. It really would. And I asked the question, why would you want to live like that? Many people don't have the means to just get up and go and flee. I understand that. But those who do have the wherewithal to get the heck out, why don't you get the heck out? I don't get it, don't understand it. Maybe it's not for me to understand, but excuse me. This thing in DC is a little scary because it's close to home. Now, when Stacey Abrams was running for the governor's seat in Georgia, cheating was alive and well. How did they not cheat their way up out of that? I don't know. Don't understand, because you got to realize Warsaw, I think his name Warnock, and this other senator out of Georgia, they're both prosperity crooks. They're both prosperity Marxists. Abram was in this right along, I think before they were voted in. But how did these two Marxists get senator seats in Georgia? Cheating. And how did Stacey Abrams not get? You had to have people who did not like this woman, who was a part of the cheating crowd, not to cheat her into office. Thank God they did what they did, because Lord knows. Listen, Georgia's right there. I go out this door and look east, and Georgia's just a hop, skip, and away. You would have people fleeing Georgia to this area and to my area where I live. And listen, if you're gonna live right and do the right thing, I don't mind. But don't bring your crap over here just cause you voted or you helped get a cheating Marxist in to the governorship. I don't get it. Don't understand it. But that's something we gotta fight down here in the South, man. Now, listen, Virginia's historically is a part of the South. Texas is more considered Midwest, but we embrace them as Southerners. And you got places like Austin in Texas is just straight liberal. You got places in Virginia that seem like half the damn state now. No, it's not half the state. It's actually pockets of Virginia, the most populated pockets that are straight liberal. And it's kind of close to home. Atlanta, right over here. Birmingham, Montgomery, these are straight liberal places in conservative states. So we conservatives, we outnumber these liberals. But but we have to travel to Atlanta. We have to travel to Birmingham. We have to travel to Montgomery. We have to travel to Austin. We have to travel to Jackson. And I'm telling you, man, when you have to travel to these places, you see liberal hellholes. Period. Liberal hellholes. So, we got to keep fighting against it, man. I'm going to do a little bit more digging and a little bit more talking and conversating, because I am the conversationalist. I heard a woman say that this morning. She was referring to another guy. He said, "Yeah, he's quite the conversationalist." I said, "Oh, somebody done stole my name." I've had a couple of Twitter handles or X handles for a minute, and I want to say it's 2016, 2017 probably. I changed one of them to the conversationalist. It was a more how can I put it, secular before the conversationalist, because I did Twitter just to look at naked pictures, and not really porn but just naked chicks. And I admit it that I had a flaw. I ain't always been the way I am. I ain't always been the good guy. I wanted to look at naked women, and I was like, no, this ain't me no more. I had my football guy handle before I had the conversationalist, so that was geared more towards sports, football, recruiting, and that type of thing. And when one day, somehow, one night, one morning, I accidentally reposted, a fine, sexy, beautiful lady to my football guy page accidentally. I was like, you know what? I gotta change this whole trajectory. I don't want these kids that I'm trying to steer in the right path as far as football and Christianity to see this and like, this guy's just a fraud. So I kind of got rid of all that nasty stuff and created the conversationalist. And that way, if anything happened accidentally, it'll still be on the up and up. And because this channel on X, on Twitter, is primarily for conversation. Basically, what I'm doing right now, conversating, having a conversation. Now, I start my platforms through YouTube, and I disperse it through the rest. I've told you that on previous podcasts. So YouTube is the foundation, but my two Twitter handles, those are where it started from with me. That's where it started. I wasn't big into social media before that. I didn't have no MySpace, and I did have like a Black Planet page, and I still got it to this day. But those was like for hookups. You want to cheat on your girlfriend or something. You get on Black Planet, you get on MySpace, and you try to hook up. I was never into that. I'm not finna sit here and lie and say I didn't try, but I was never into that. But when Twitter came along, and from the jump, you had bad Twitter, you had good Twitter, and I was a part of both worlds. I never met or hooked up with anybody from Twitter. That scares the heck out of me. It did back then, for the simple fact, you roll up on something that you weren't expecting, somebody gonna die. It's either gonna be that person or me, and I don't want to die. So why even put myself in that position? But like I said, my main thing with Twitter was to gear young men in sports and football, mentor them, coach them. And I kind of got away from that when my son graduated. And I said he was my main focus because I still got guys to this day that's a part of, everything I've ever done on Twitter that's still here to this day. And at the young men, 30s, and I want to gear them in the right direction. I want to, keep gearing them in the right direction. Just because you're not playing football no more don't mean, you don't have a personal life or spiritual life. So I still want to, gear them in that direction. But I've cleaned up my Twitter and X, and everything's on the up and up now. Well, it has been for the last 10 years, I want to say. So, but my point to all that is, everything that I do when it comes to social media and all my platforms is to conversate, to engage, and to spread the good word. Everything that I do and everything I got is Christian based, biblically based, not prosperity. I don't want to get off in a tangent, but I heard this yesterday too. This guy on YouTube, beautiful YouTube page. and I'm gonna have to share it some too. All these, well, not all, but I'm gonna say 90% of the televangelists that you see on TV, sending your prayer cloths and mineral water and this and that. He played snippets of their sermons over the years. All of these are prosperity folks, man. All of these are crooks. Now, I've never delved into televangelists. I just they ain't never been my thing. But obviously, these people are getting rich. They've been rich. One guy, I want to say he was some kind of pulpit pimp out of Louisiana. He said he had the biggest house in Louisiana. He had the most personal planes in Louisiana, and this and that, this and that. And I'm like, who's paying these folks? Who's giving money to these folks? But see, that's how you have your mega churches and all these pulpit pimps, man. They get you. They get to your emotions through their prosperity, and they start begging for this money. Well, you have a long life if you give me $1,000. God's gonna bless you. They use the Bible, and they use the word of the Lord to enrich themselves, and may their souls burn in hell for all I care. But listen, no, I don't want to get off on that tangent because I could speak on that for a whole 30 minutes. But getting back to this DMV thing, listen, you guys do what you need to do to survive in this state, man. They finna kill you with taxes. They finna kill you with this socialist liberal garbage. I think they're going full force on allowing boys to be in women's spaces, be in girls' spaces. And, you know, if I ever have to go to Virginia and I go into Walmart and I got to use the bathroom and I see a little girl and a mama walking by me, I never go back there ever again. But he told me that happened in California. Here, men pulling out the thing, pissing, and a little girl is walking by them. Dude, that would have messed me up psychologically. You hear me? I don't even let my wife see me urinate. And a stranger, a little girl, and a mom walking by me as I'm pissing? But they finna allow this in Virginia. They finna allow a whole lot of socialist Marxist ideologies let loose in the DMV. So you guys get ready for that. I'm gonna be praying for you. Your property taxes. Instead of paying $22 for a good steak, you're gonna be paying $45 to $65 for a good steak. It's unreal, man. But listen, I've talked about this too much. The DMV, that's gonna be the title. And I hate the fact that I'm just now knowing that DC, Maryland, and Virginia is what the DMV stood for. I'm embarrassed, but listen, it is what it is. I appreciate you guys. I love you. You guys stay blessed. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. See you next time.